Are you a super busy, successful woman and you're afraid you might be on the verge of a burnout? You've been doing all the things, you juggle so many aspects and layers of your life, and you've gotten to a point and you went, is this it? What's next? Is there more? Because those are really powerful questions to ask yourself. If so, then hang tight with me. Today, we're going to be talking about how to make a shift in your life to support moving into better alignment and fulfillment. So, my name is Jen. I am the founder and CEO of Laughing Lotus Wellness. And what I do is I support women who are very successful to reconfigure where they're going in their lives. They've reached a point where they have realized that there are parts that don't feel good anymore. They're not satisfied, right? And so my goal is to help them get very clear on their purpose, right? Why they're here, giving them an anchor into their souls that for the rest of their time here, they have something that they just know they're meant to do, and they can do that in any facet of their lives, right? That is real clarity. And I think it's like a superpower to know what your purpose actually is, okay? I hear a lot of people speak to things like tasks and roles. Those are way too small to define what you're actually holding inside yourself, okay? So you've got this brilliant, beautiful beam of light that the entire world needs, and we just want you to know what that is. And knowing what that is becomes that superpower to allow you to then create legacy. Because when you fully stand in alignment and your purpose, you dole out legacy like a mofo, okay? So that's what we're gonna be talking about today, is a shift. So listen, I was a psychotherapist for over 20 years, and I have a ton of time sitting across the couch from people. And the area of specialty that I had was teens and young adults, but also I specialized in treating trauma, and I saw loads and loads of women. And so I had lots of women that ranged in age from probably 20 to 60, to be honest. I had probably like a 40-year time span that I really specialized in spending time with people that were coming in with those kinds of issues. And so what I want to talk about today is some of the wisdom that I gleaned from that time as well. So it won't just be all the things I know from my coaching practice and what I offer now for consultation, but it's going to be a little bit different. But I wanted to notice that what I saw in my office was this incessant need for shifting. And so I will refer to that in a little bit. So let's talk about what SHIFT stands for. So those of you that have been following me long enough know I'm super nerdy and I love language and I love acrostics. So this month, SHIFT stands for Stepping into Honor Your Intuitive Faith for Transformation. Yes, I had to look at it because it's kind of a mouthful. So stepping into honor your intuitive faith for transformation, meaning you trust yourself as your own hero, your own guru, your own healer. Like you know what you need to do. Like you don't need somebody else to step in and save you, okay? And so there's a piece of this that's really starting to see your worth. And I think that's really, really important as a woman. And so I want to talk about how we know we need to shift. So some things that are really important to notice. You're probably tired, burnt out, exhausted, frustrated, feeling out of balance, lacking creativity and motivation, lacking fire and passion. You're kind of lacking your zip, the spark, the fire, whatever it is for you. Like you're probably feeling like you're like, something's amiss, something's missing. And so that's how we start to know. And what that really tells us is that your vibration's kind of low. And listen, when I say that, instead of going to your head, because I just know some woman went, oh my God, no, there's another thing wrong with me. That's not what I'm saying. I just heard your voice before I've even sent out this video to everyone in the interwebs. Listen, that's not what I'm saying. What I want you to think is, without any judgment, that if we're energetic beings, which we all are, we live in energy, we are energy, we're made up of layers of energy. What I want you to think about is that your vibration, what you're carrying around, might be kind of like, oh, it's like a little like, it's kind of like just a little bit tired, right? And so when we think about what's going to light up a space, it's probably not that vibration of feeling like I'm too tired, I'm burnt out, there isn't a lot left to give. Okay, so I really want you to be thinking about that, is like, I don't really feel like I have any F's to give. If you're in that space, we know it's time for a shift. But that means that your vibe, the energy is kind of low, right? Like, oh, right? We don't have a lot to work with, and that makes perfect sense. If my vibe is high, I've got a lot of juice to work with, okay? So this is that self-check. It's like, okay, where am I sitting with things? I want you to think about noticing the ones that you get to change the shifts you get to make and the ones that you have to write out. And I know this sounds funny, but they're two different things. So there's the shifts that I am capable of making, the ones where I learn more about my purpose, creating my legacy, understanding myself more deeply, personal growth and development, right? Those things we are fully capable of going in and shifting, which is awesome. So sometimes I think it is about awareness of harnessing the ones that we really can, because there's ones we can't. Let's just give a few examples of those kind of ideas, right? So I don't want to stop or shift out of my child leaving my house, right? Empty nesting. I don't necessarily, I definitely might not be able to control something like infertility issues, right? So I'm just throwing out some ideas where you might bump into some things and you are going to take every single step and measure that you can to navigate them well, but you aren't necessarily fully in charge, right? Does that make sense? Some things are really out of our hands. And so I really also want you to understand and harness the spaces where you can, right, have some real impact and change, because that's so empowering. And so I think sometimes when we're lacking, gumption, right, we need to feel powerful. We need to empower ourselves to step up and in. And so part of that is recognizing, where can I make a shift of my own accord? I am fully capable, and it is my duty, my right and privilege to step fully in. Okay. The other thing is to notice if people start talking to you about I shouldn't laugh, it's kind of funny. So it's the time and the moment where someone lovingly says to you, have you thought about changing your job? Gosh, what? I wonder if something training wise might be helpful to you. Gosh, I wonder if it's time to do X, Y, and Z. Have you considered finding a coach? Have you considered, now listen, this is not an insult. This is our loved ones, hopefully. Our loved ones are respected people, right? I'm talking, listen to your respected people. But they're looking and they're kind of going, something's not jiving for you, right? And perhaps it's that you've had the same conversation about your career path 30 times. And listen, and it's not an insult. It's that person has gone to a place of like, okay, my bag of tricks is no longer working. We've all been there. I have been the receiving end of this, and I've also been the giver of this. And it just is a sign that it's time to shift. And rather than getting in our heads and like, oh my God, I'm messing something up. No, I think of shifts as opportunities, right? Everything is how we look at it. So if I look and I go, oh my God, I'm down in the dumps and my people think I'm, whatever, now I need a therapist, or I need whatever. I need to find myself a new job, a new career path, a new whatever. Listen, people are saying it because they love you, right? They've got your back. And again, these would be trusted resources, not just, Joe Blow, but like we're like talking to somebody that really knows and loves us. And if they're giving us feedback, they're like, I'm noticing this thing for you. That's a time where we just want to pause and say, oh, might be time to make a shift. Might be time to do something different. Can I have faith that there's a transformation that's waiting for me so that I can up level and live into my alignment in a greater way? That's really what someone's lovingly saying to you, is like, this doesn't feel like it's in alignment for you, sweetheart, right? That's totally different than a criticism. It's like, nah, I want you to live your best damn life. Like, this is me for my friends, my people that are close, my inner circle, I was going to say my inner sanctum, which is really true. My inner circle and my inner sanctum are very, very precious resources. And if I said that to them, they would know I meant business. Like, I don't like loosely say to someone, gosh, you know what? I'm kind of concerned about you. If I'm saying that, like deep, meaningful, I'm concerned for you, okay? So again, just awareness, right? Like, oh, someone's starting to talk to me a little bit and they're like noticing this unhappiness. Maybe it's a supervisor, maybe you're in high level corporate and they're like, listen, we love what you're doing here. You're not feeling it. Right? That person's giving you feedback that there might be a space of growth that needs to happen and you're not necessarily having leaned in yet to what that looks like for yourself. Okay. So something to think about. Okay. The last one. After a big shakeup in our lives. So when we have something big happen, okay. And so I talk to a lot of midlife women, right? That's an area that I would say I have specialty in because I worked in it my whole career. But I would say, so for example, a divorce, a child leaving the home, a loss, a significant illness, right? But I would say this across the board. If you're a little bit younger, it might look like, do I struggle with infertility? Have I, come to realize that I've got a health or chronic condition that's going to be with me for the rest of my life? There's so many things and layers and places where we go, oh, shit, this is really hard. I mean, like a really hard, authentically hard and challenging space. Okay. And so very commonly, those are times where we will naturally make a shift. And in some ways, because we've been doled out one we can't control. Does that make sense? Right. And so if I'm doled out one that I can't control, and I'm going to feel all this internal, oh, you're welcome. Apparently that's what mine sounds like, an opera singer. Okay, so, right, I have this vibe and I'm like, oh my God, something is amiss. What do I need to do with this? It is actually a really great opportunity to invite in shift. It's a great time to reflect on what's working and what isn't, and what areas you're feeling like you need to be leaning into further to create something different, right? To invite in that change. So rather than duking it out and wanting to grip and hold onto what was or what has been, we're like, no, no, no. I'm going to lean all the way in. I'm going to just like grab this by the horns and I'm going to lean into the shift. Right? So it's funny, it's like driving. This is a great example and why this just came to my head. Thank you, Lord, whatever grand gift I just was granted. But so it's almost like when you're learning to drive and you start to go into a tailspin, right? If you start to spin, here's the irony. Our actions would tell us to go the opposite direction. Our brain goes, correct, correct, but actually you're supposed to go with the actual spin. So I want you to think that way. It's rather than fighting the momentum and the direction that our lives are taking, it's fully leaning in. So even think about, stepping into honor your intuitive faith. So it's like listening to yourself, but leaning into that awareness that you are being called to shift in this powerful way and to go with it, right? It's like fully aligning with it and moving with the momentum rather than fighting against. So that's where this is like a really brilliant time to do something. So a really great story, another little shift. And listen, I think shifts can be very, very big. And I think they can be kind of small, to be honest with you. It depends. So working with a coaching client just recently, and we had already done her value sets, which is one of the first big pieces of work we do with my clients in their coaching journey. And we had already done them, but I brought them back. We were talking about decision making in her career. And I was like, okay, pull out your value list, right? And we're looking and she's like, oh, I need to rework this. I don't actually necessarily, I wouldn't rank these the way I have them. I think I was very full career mode. And I'm like, that's great. Step back. We rewired those a little for her. Now, that was brilliant on her part to recognize openly that intuition. She was like, oh, I thought this was going to be just the jam. And guess what? I've already noticed an evolution in me that I'm seeing that I started this off and I was super focused on my career. But actually, it's bigger than that. And I'm going to shuffle some things around. And listen, it was the same values in a different order. And that landed differently for her. And so what happens is as she's continuing to make big decisions about contracts and all sorts of things to go out on her own, she's got all these beautiful options on her plate. I wanted her to be really, really clear about what her value set was because I know that she's going to come from a space of making direction and decision from that place. Okay. So it was so brilliant on her part. So this is really why I love coaching so much, is watching and witnessing someone's like the unraveling of all of this brilliant work that they're doing and how they learn to have this capacity to empower themselves to see these shifts and changes as part of their journey, right? We don't do it once and then we graduate. We do it over and over and over again because we're constantly evolving. So if we're evolving, shifts evolve, we want to go with that, right? That momentum you heard me speak to a little while ago, right? I'm going to go with the turn. Not against the turn, I'm going to go with the turn, okay? And so I invite you to imagine that the next time you kind of bump into something that might feel like it's either calling for a shift or our souls are calling for a shift. And I want you to listen for that. Okay, so we'll be back next time for how do we do this, right? That's always fun. So in the month, it's sort of like we'll open with an idea. And the second vlog that comes out right now is really, really about leaning into what do we do with that. But listen, let's say you were listening today and you were like, Jen, I could use more of that. Please reach out to me and let's hop on a call and chat. Let's do a consult call where we just digest where are you, where do you want to go, what are the blocks you're experiencing right now, and see what we can't do to support you in making your next super powerful shift in your life to elevate and help you live into your purpose, divinely connected to your legacy. So as always, my friends, Jen signing off. Thank you so much. Sending you blessings, love, and light, and we will see you next time.